Hi fellow late night coders, welcome and thank you for watching this video. This is actually the first video I'm recording on this channel and I wanted to make sure that we start at the right place. As a developer, one thing that you always want to do is to make sure that your code is production ready. And so it's a good practice to use a good starting point so that you can just go from development to production as quickly as possible. That's why I created this boilerplate, and I will be using it as a starting point for most, if not all, of my videos on this channel. Now, a lot of videos on this channel are going to focus on just snippets of codes that you can use in your full applications or websites. And for those, we do not necessarily need to use this boilerplate because they're only for practice purposes in the development environment. But we do also build some complete websites and apps that we will deploy. And so I think it's good to just use this as much as possible. Now in this video, I'm going to walk you through this boilerplate and show you how you can set it up very quickly. I will also talk about some details that you may want to pay attention to when using the starter kit. Okay, now one last thing before we get started. If you're new to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn the notifications on so that you are the first to know when a new video is uploaded. Alrighty, let's get started. So first of all, you have to go to this GitHub link. I will post this link on the description below this video. So this basically has the boilerplate that I'm going to talk about. What you're going to do is to click here on code and then either clone it or download zip file. And once that's done, you will unzip it. And I use VS Code to look at my code and all that. So I'm going to open this folder in VS Code. So it doesn't really matter what ID you're using, whatever you're more comfortable with, just open it. So once you open it, here, by the way, you can change the folder name if you want to. Here you'll see some folders and some files. What I'm gonna do right now is to take a look at these Webpack config files. As you can see, we have 3 Webpack config JS files. The first one, the common one, is where we have all the important things. We have also a development and production config files. Both of these two are referring the common file, and so what we really need to take a look is this file. Now Webpack, if you want to know more about Webpack, it's just a bundler that it basically puts everything in one single folder. It minifies your JavaScript and CSS files, and if you want to know more, you can go to their website. They have a good documentation there, and also I will post this link on the description as well. If you go back to the common Webpack file, you can see here we are importing some packages. These are basically mostly plugins. One good thing about Webpack is that there are so many plugins that you can use. Again, if I go back to Webpack website, you can see a lot of plugins here. This one is, if I go back one level up, so yeah, here you can see all these plugins. And what I have in this code, I'm using some of these plugins as well. But before that, you need to define your entry points for this Webpack configuration, so that Webpack knows where to look for your JavaScript and CSS, or in my case SCSS files. what we see here, we have a app directory, and also we have styles directory. In the app directory, that's where I am putting all my JS files, and of course index.js is there. We'll look into these folders later on. And all my stylings are gonna be under the styles folder, as you can see here. Obviously there is also index.scss as the entry point for all the styles. Again, we'll take a deeper look in these into these folders later on. I talked about plugins. As you can see here, we have like a few plugins that we are using. For example, this copy Webpack plugin will remove all your static files, including like images, videos, or any static file that you have under the final build folder. We have like mini CSS plugin. Also, we have image minimizer plugin. Again, if you go to the plugins page of the Webpack main website, you will see all these plugins and a description of them. Moving down on this on this page, on this code here, you can see that we have also some rules how to bundle our JavaScript files, our CSS, SCSS files. Everything is here. We are the loaders that we are using. All of these basically are like plugins that we need to import in our in our project. Here also we are looking at file loader, specifically like fonts or images, and later on we will create some I will create some videos about 3JS and custom shaders, and that's what these two are. We don't need to worry about them right now, but GLSL is basically the language that we will be using for that. And at the end here, we are doing some optimization. Tensor plugin is basically a plugin that will minify your JavaScript. And keep in mind that, for example, we are using image minimizer. If you look at this plugin, you will also need to install some other dependencies to make sure that the package that you're using for optimization is actually installed in your project. And those are like the plugins under this image minimizer that I have here. So like GIFs, ICLE, that all these need to be installed. So that's about the common Webpack file. And if we go to the dev and production file, you see like what we are saying here is that once everything is bundled, put everything in a folder called public. We don't see that now. Once we start our server, we'll see that folder being created. For development, we are also using making sure that we are we can access dev tools, and we can log errors and all those things, see what's happening with the code. So like this source map, if we go to development page of the Webpack website, you see that like using these source maps, basically you can track down errors and warnings, and so those are good things for development that we will need. So that's about the Webpack files. Let's open the package.json file. So here you see all these dev dependencies and the dependencies. The dev dependencies are basically all the Webpack related stuff at this point of the code that we talked about: plugins, Webpack dev server, all these things that we use in the Webpack configuration files. The other thing to note is the scripts here. So if we want to run this model, just keep in mind, so this project is set for both front-end and back-end development and production. So what we will need to do for our development, we do npm start, and that's gonna simultaneously run back-end and front-end development scripts here. Backend, we're gonna use Express with Node.js, so everything is gonna be like all the routes, everything will be in this app.js file. And for front end, all the Webpack configuration and everything will be done using this script. And then when we want to do production, we'll just run front end production, npm front end production, and that should take care of it. Okay, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna open terminal here, and what I am gonna do is do npm install to install all these packages, because as you saw, like all these yellow lines under them, and because they're not installed. And once we npm install under the project folder, we are going to see this node modules folder. That's where all the packages are gonna be stored. Now let's go back to package.json. So everything is installed now, and we don't see any warnings anymore. As I said, for the development, you're gonna have to run npm start, and once you do that, it's gonna start all the front end and back end scripts are gonna run. And then once we're done, you are going to be able to open your browser and go to localhost 3000, and voila, here we have our home page. I'll get into details more. I'm just gonna open this dev tools here. One thing to note, that once you do the npm start, you're gonna see this public folder being created, and as I mentioned, that's where all the bundles are gonna be saved inside. So that's what we did here in our dev config file and the production file. Okay, let's move on now. We have next thing, we have the app.js file, and app.js file is basically everything that we have for our Express and like our routing. Everything is here. I'll talk about this Morgan MP package later, but this is just simple Express setup with Node.js. If you go to the Express website here, Express.js, they have like a simple starter, and that's mostly what we have here. I do like to have a 404 redirect also for the pages that basically we don't have, so that is also included here. And finally, we are listening to our port, and that's the 3000 that we have defined up here. So let's move on with some of these. Let me explain a little bit more here, especially these lines here. We are using Pog as our template engine for HTML. It's basically like you might have heard of EJS and Pog also. They're both template engines for Node and for the browser. Here I'm using Pog, and here I am defining where my Pog files are, where to get the where the rendering is gonna be done from. So if you look at our main page here, you can say that once we are at this endpoint, go look at views folder, which we have here, and under the page folder, look for home.pog. So what's gonna happen here, views, pages folder, and home.pog is what's gonna be displayed, and that's what we are seeing here, home.pog. So moving on, if we look at the pog files here, so as I said, home.pog, for example, is what we have, which is going to be displayed. Now, for pog files here, I am going to explain what's happening here. If you go to pog.js file, they have good documentation there on how you can create your pog files. And then there is this template inheritance section of pog that you will see what I'm doing here. You can basically look at this documentation and try to understand it. I'm gonna do my best to try and explain it here. So in my home.pog file, I am extending from my index.pog file, which is this one here. And if you look at that, this is basically the all the HTML code with head and body written in Pog, obviously. And you can see I have all my meta tags, all my CSS and my JavaScript entry points. And also I do have this block content here under my body. I have a class called content, and under that I have block content. If you go back to home.pog, let's forget about this here, but with block.content, what's gonna happen is that in my index pog, which I'm extending here, it's gonna look for block content, and that's gonna replace that with all I have here. So technically this one here is gonna be content, and under that it's gonna be all the home class. If I go back to my localhost and if I inspect here, you can see I have body here, then I have content, and then there we have home welcome, and the link and all that, which is all coming from here. So that's how this extending, and with the block we are actually replacing everything in the index file with what we have here. Same thing with 404. If you want to read more, obviously, as I mentioned, I'll post this link also in the description of this video, and you can take a look at that. Alright, that's about pog files. Let's see. Okay, so under the views folder, I also have partials folder. This is where you can put navigation or some page transition or something, the things that you kind of are partially but might be shared among all your pages. That's where I normally put them. In the styles folder, keep in mind that again, I have views and I have pages, I have styles, I have pages. So under each folder later on, when we look at app where I have my JS files, I also have pages. I want to organize everything in this way so that I know where to look if I have a problem or if I want to make a change. For the styles pages, again, we have the same 2 pages. This time we are putting the CSS file under a separate folder for each one. If you have about page, I'm gonna have an about folder with about.scss file. If we look back at our Webpack config, we defined there that our entry point for our style files are gonna be under is gonna be index.scss, and that's right here. And our style directory, as you can see, is like our styles folder, index.scss. This is the entry point for all the CSS files. I don't want to put like all the styling files in here. I will refer all the styling files that I have. For example, here for 404 page, for home page, I refer them here. I import them here. And then if I go there, basically I have all these styling for each page separately. And one thing I want to do is always I try to have like home or the page name at the beginning of all these classes, because if you have like welcome in not welcome, if you have like a class in your homepage and in the same kind of class in 404 or like about page, you want to make sure they have like different names, so that if you're applying different class names, so that when you're applying styles, it doesn't get applied to like both of them. Common mistake, like in this shared folder, I have HTML and body. So right now, if I just do that same thing in my, let's say, home.css, what's gonna happen, because I have home.css, home here after shared, it's gonna overwrite everything in shared if it finds the similar classes. So now if I go back there, I will see that. Did I save that? Yes, it's saved. If I refresh, oh, so it's the same actually. So if I change it to, for example, 0ff and save it again, you're gonna see that is going to be overwritten, because the home SCSS file is after the shared, and it's gonna override everything. So it's a good practice to make sure your class names are unique and are not shared in different files if you don't want them to have the same styling. Okay, now I'm gonna revert it back to what it was. And other thing to notice is that every time I like make a change in this file, if I'm making change in SCSS and JavaScript files, this localhost is gonna restart and refresh basically automatically. But if I make changes in the POG files or the app.js file, this won't refresh automatically. You have to refresh it manually. Okay, moving on. If you look at the public static folder is where I have all my static files. And for example, I have this image here, and I have that saved under the images folder. Now going back to our Webpack config, you see here that whatever I have under static is gonna be directly copied to my final public folder. So here in public folder, which is made, I will see that I have images folder and my subscribe there. So it's not gonna copy static folder, it's gonna copy whatever is inside the static directly there. And that's why if I look at my home.pog file, I'm just saying sources images subscribe, because static is not there anymore. So keep that in mind also. And you see like all the compiled JS and CSS files are here. Normally you'll see just one CSS and JS, but since I like redid made changes and redid, now you see like multiple files. You can like delete it and once you, for example, let's stop the server and npm start again, and you're gonna see that I will have only one main and CSS and JS file here. So that's about that. Moving on to app folder. This is where I have all my JavaScript files. So again, back in the Webpack config file, we defined our entry point. One of our entry point is index.js under the app folder, and we know that's where we want to have all our JavaScript files. Now for this index.js, similar to index.scss that I had for styles, I don't want to do all my code here. What I'm doing is just importing the specific JavaScript stuff from the detail, like by page JavaScript files. So for example, here I'm importing home and 404 from these. If you have index.js under the folder, you don't need to do like /index or anything. It just recognizes that by default. So that's how you do it. And then for the main JavaScript class, I like to, for basically all JavaScript classes, JavaScript files, I want to do object orientation programming. So I have classes here with constructor. What happens here is that once it looks into index.js here, we are importing home and 404, then it's gonna run this app class, and when that's called, it's gonna basically look inside the constructor, and we have two functions here. It's gonna call both of them. So first one is create content. What I'm trying to do here is that, remember in home.pog file I had this block variables with a variable called template. In this pog file, which is here my home page, I am saying the template name is home. And if I go back to my index file, remember block is how you basically replace the variable with the same name in the file that you're extending. So here I have a template, which is the same name, template. So when I go to home page, my data-template is gonna be home. Here, take a look. See, data-template is home. And now in the index file, index.js file, what I'm trying to do is I'm getting that content class from my homepage pog, and then I'm looking at the data-template attribute there. And then I'm getting that and saving that as template. So this template right now at homepage is just home. And then here, after the content is created for pages, I'm saying I have multiple pages. Later on, you will add like about and all that, anything, any page that you have. Right now, I only have home and 404. These two, home and 404 on the left side, are exactly as what I have here as a template name. And then if I see this pages, for the template home is gonna run the home file, which I'm importing here. And that's basically pages home index.js. Right now I don't have anything here, but it will be like you have any animations or anything that JavaScript just specific to your home page, you'll put them here. And so now here it knows that our template is home. So in this pages object, it's gonna see, okay, that was home. Now I need to look at the index.js inside home and run all the JavaScript file there. Here you can add this page.create if you have something that you wanna do like multiple times, not just at the beginning. I put it outside the constructor. You could potentially put this create under constructor, like do this dot create, and then remove that from here, and it's gonna do the same. Basically, you are still gonna see this console.log. You can see like my Webpack is refreshing the page as I do change my JavaScript files, and you still see home created, but that's only gonna run when you at the beginning, when you load that page. If you wanna refer it again, then you would need to like do this dot page create file. So I'll leave it outside as it was, and it depends on what you are trying to do. And yeah, that's about it. That's all the folders. I guess we covered everything here. A couple more things. I told you about the Morgan package in my app.js file. You see here, when I go in each my endpoints, you can see all these 200 HTTP responses, and that's what Morgan does. If I remove this Morgan and then logger here, you won't see like the request response stuff down here in your development environment. I like to see them, and that's why I've added Morgan here. And yeah, so yeah, that's about it. I think that should cover everything. We will be using this starter from now on whenever I'm doing videos. Like I said, for development and production, it has both front end and back end. If you want to do like build, production, build, as I mentioned, you'll do npm front end :prod, and that does the front end, and that does the production build for you. But for development, all you need is npm start. Okay, yeah, that's all. That's about it. So make sure to download it, play with it, go to the links that I will share with you. I will also put some links about npm, Morgan. Everything is gonna be in the description, and obviously the GitHub link for the boilerplate. Just play with it, and if you need to, go back and watch the video again. And yeah, thanks a lot. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, don't hesitate to ask any questions. If you have any, just post them in the comments section of this video, and I'll make sure to get back to you guys as soon as possible. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys later.